With attempts of doing a less serious Dark Souls challenge, and with inspiration from Nurbit, I decided it was time to do a more fun challenge run. So with hopes of doing just that, and after finding a book about him from my childhood, I decided to find out, can you beat Dark Souls 1 as William Wallace? So while we make our man, let's go over the rules. 1. Create the ultimate William Wallace. 2. No glitches or exploits. 3. No summons. And lastly, beat all the bosses. Rules done, let's start the run, and talk about what I've created in the process. This beautiful man is William Wallace, or Braveheart. Considering his government name is more than Dark Souls character limit, 1-0 the film, 0 history, we choose the knight to be lore accurate. Starting gift wise, we choose the master key as we need it to create what I deem base level Willy. With that, it's time to start. We'll be doing all the normal things to get out of the asylum, starting with our first weapon, the broadsword, taking us to William Wallace. Fun fact number 1, William Wallace also used a broadsword alongside his claymore, so this weapon is legal. Fact aside, we speak to Oscar and grab the Estus and key, keep tradition alive with a swanton bomb to the asylum's dome, and defeat... Right, well, as you watch the second attempt at Asylum, I guess this gives me a chance to mention I won't be upgrading my Vitality nor Estus till after at least a Lord Soul is claimed. I have no reason for this, other than I love punishing myself for no apparent reason. For the personal wants of the run, the first is to upgrade my sword to plus 15. As previous challenges I haven't had the chance, and yes, I understand I will be using a plus 15 claymore, but as stated, it is a fun run. Yes, you can beat Dark Souls with a claymore, but we are William Wallace, not just a claymore. I also forgot how his skills worked and didn't create a quality build. Second is to complete Siegmeyer's questline, as it's the best in this game and we will already be doing at least a quarter of it for the build anyway. Thirdly, upgrade my armor, as I've never done it and only found out about it a couple playthroughs ago. I'm just numb brain mode in merchant menus. Take down all the Englishmen. Then lastly and most importantly, build the ultimate William Wallace, and historically accurate at that. And to start that, we need to get out of this asylum. And hey, would you look at what's just ended? GG's Asylum Demon, I can't wait to fight you 2 more times. Now we've touched the holy soil of Firelink, it's time to get our William Wallace on. So here's the things I'm looking for to create base level Willy. The claymore, which I'm sure if you ask anyone who has played the game will tell you is pretty broken. And then armor wise is the chainmail set. Nothing fancy about it, basic armor, but doesn't appear it when a God of War wears it. And that's all I need for base level Willy. Now there is some things that I'll be adding as we progress with this run, the likes of Power Within and the Fat Brain, more so because I don't want to repeat my last run's mistakes of having Anastasia die at Lotric's hands, along with a plethora of other things as well as different weapons too. As William Wallace, fun fact 2, Wallace wasn't just skilled with his claymore, but also with a bow, which honestly I never knew. I'd always been led to believe he was just a sword-wielding God of War. Fun fact aside, it's now time for the first 2 items I deem mandatory to even start the run formally. If in that 20 seconds you somehow forgot the first 2, it was the Claymore and Chainmail set. With memory refreshed, it's time to create base level Willy, and to do that we will need to do a couple things first. Of which the first of those things is to run all the way through Undead Burg till we get to Havel's Tower, where we put that handy master key to use. Make Havel fall down the stairs while we open the door leading to Darkroot Basin, masterfully dodge everything, say hi to Andre as we pass, grab the basement key as well as take that one Hollow's roll away from him by shutting the gate first, followed by us definitely not getting poisoned and nearly dying before kicking the ladder to open the shortcut to Undead Burg. But wait! We aren't done just yet, there is still some trickery involved. To perform this trickery, we'll be buying some throwing knives off the undead merchant. This guy will also be the one who sells us the chain armor set, so we make sure to pick that up while speaking to him. With the throwing knives, we head back up to the dragon bridge, throw a couple knives that I guess just mess with the game's spaghetti code. I think the dragon believes I hit him? I don't really know. Utilizing that fact though, we can make him move from his spot, enabling us to make a mad dash to the sunlight altar bonfire, which also gets our dragon homie to fuck off, making our enemy retreat and giving us back our bridge. Fun fact 3 time and Braveheart the movie did not have the Battle of Stirling on a bridge, even though the actual battle was the Battle of Stirling Bridge. I mean, I don't know what I expected. The Braveheart film, for people that don't know anything about William Wallace, is very much not a historically accurate movie. Sorry to burst any bubbles. Back to the game, and with the English gone, we have free reign to grab our weapon of the run, the Claymore, and officially create base level Willy.
You fight for me, you get to kill the English. Excellent!
Base level Willy achieved, and it's now time for our first boss. Well, not before we upgrade the claymore to +1. We go back to the garden to pick up the longbow alongside the weed shield. This won't be our final shield, but I'm allowing it as it's a fun run. So in the famous words of Bart Simpson,
"Eat my shorts."
but I do have a shield in mind for Willy's Targe shield, so don't you worry. We also start pumping points into endurance, as I want to unlock the fast rolls in the chain set as quick as possible. Retail therapy aside, and it's time to say, if you're liking the video, a sub or like goes a long way to helping with the algorithm. Back to the video, and it's time to use a bow that we can't use due to stat issues. Again, the wiki says he was well versed with a longbow, so this is allowed, and after 1 or 2 attempts, we take care of the channeler and his minions. Before the first boss, we go and set Lotric free, as he has something we want. Now, I'm sure you'd think I went and got the Fat Ring before initiating the Bell Gargoyles, but for some reason I said to myself the Fat Ring could be a mini reward for beating them. I honestly don't know why I did that, as I also for some reason didn't level Vitality or upgrade my Estus for a lot of this run. Extra punishment aside, it was time for the Bell Gargoyles. As anyone who has played this game knows, the claymore is far more than a capable weapon. It's probably one of the top weapons in the game with full upgrade, so don't worry, I won't use it for every boss in the game. For the gargoyles though, we will. This fight was going perfectly fine, no real problems. I was dodging attacks and getting my hits in despite mid-rolls due to the chain armor's weight, and as is a reoccurring theme for me, I choke the first attempt when I have them weak and somewhat victory in sight by getting over Wallace. So with the first attempt lost and ego put in check, we go back to fight the gargoyles. This time making sure to keep ourselves in check to maintain our patience while fighting, which means our hero, William Wallace, will claim his first victory and ring his first bell. With that done, we head down to Andre's bonfire to go and speak to Sigmire of Katarina and start his questline. He will be necessary for 2 things in this run. One is for building medium level Willy, and the second is due to, as prior mentioned, me wanting to do his entire storyline. After exhausting Sieg's dialogue here, we make our way to our next location, Lower Undead Berg. We don't go and fight Capra straight away however, in fact we just run through it to go and open the shortcut to Firelink Shrine. This done, and we finally go and meet up with Lotric, who gets "This is Spartan" off the map as he comes clean about being an Englishman. Fat Ring now gained, we have our max vitality till at least after our first Lord Soul. Then it was time to fight Capra, which, as you may know if you've seen any previous runs, is by far one of my least favourite boss fights, and his rabid dogs showed me just why on my first run. Before we eventually came back and beat Capra. This fight isn't actually too hard once the dogs are dead. Well, it isn't if you do the cheese. I always do this cheese out of pure spite for how awful Capra is, so if you don't know how to do it, you just push yourself into this top corner, let Capra take a swing and a miss, drop down on him and deal big damage. Repeat this strategy, and before you know it, Capra will be dead and you'll have the depths key. With the depths key now gained, we use it to go and free Laurentius, and while we're here, we also take down the butcher guarding our ember, exterminate the enormous vermin in the sewer, run through the sewer to go and take down the channeler, get ganked by even more irregularly sized rats, and kill the channeler. Return to the bonfire and level up endurance, and finally get the ability to fast roll, albeit this is without the weed shield equipped. But considering I haven't been able to use it in my last couple runs, it doesn't make much of a difference. The fast rolling does though. To go and test out our fast rolling, we take on Gaping, who is easily dodgeable with fat rolls, so it's not much of a test really. This fight is always one of the easier ones of the run. Run around the arena making sure to not do anything unless it's a head slam attack, which he does often luckily. Take a couple swings at his head before moving out the way for him before taking more swings at his back legs. With that, Gaping is successfully defeated, and it only means one thing: Poisonville is beckoning us. As we have the master key, we geniusly take the entrance from New Londo. Door open, we use this route to get to Blighttown's bonfire with a lot less heartache than if we came from the depths. As we are human, we spawn in Mildred, the ever staple of Poisonville. Milfeet are dead, and it was time to do what we came here to, which was of course to go and grab Power Within. I'm grabbing Power Within as, unlike Dark Souls 3, this game doesn't have a battle cry. This perk would have been my ideal for this build, but considering Dark Souls 1 doesn't have the perk, I figured Power Within would be fine. as he clearly had a power within that made him stronger than the average man, considering William Wallace fun fact 4, of which is that he had 370 confirmed frags to his name, mostly all being one-shot kills with his claymore. I'd say that makes him more powerful than the average Joe, a power within, shall we say. Either way, power within is now in our inventory. With that, I make my way back to Firelink, where I'm sure you imagine I went and grabbed the pyro flame, but you'd be mistaken, as I for some reason flexed on Rhea. I'm still confused as to why I did this, considering I didn't do anything with this questline, like at all, but still killed like all female characters possible apart from her. With our obvious manic episode we were going through, we head back to the asylum. We also went and upgraded our claymore a bit more before that. As we are back at the asylum, we do go through the usual process of making our way to our cell to pick up the peculiar doll, which will enable us entry to fight one of our bosses later, before going and fighting the second of the 3 demon cousins. If you know anything about Dark Souls, then I don't need to explain this fight to you. It is as simple as ever. Let him explode, roll, then hit him, and repeat. Defeating Stray, however, does grant us our first Titanite slab of the run. We'll be needing a few more to make my wants come true by the end of this run, but while in the asylum, we also make sure to grab the rusted iron ring, as it makes traversing through Blighttown just that tiny bit easier. Asylum done, and on return to Firelink, we finally grab the pyro flame from Laurentius, and make our way back down to Blighttown to take on the second bell security guard, Quelaag. This was also our first display of power within, and apart from being an idiot and not seeing her activate the Oppenheimer animation causing me to die, this fight was easy. Really just ran around her and let her do all her useless attacks while making sure to duck, dodge and dive from all of Quelaag's personal sword swinging. Meaning after only 2 attempts, we take down Quelaag and ring our second bell. A little tip for the people that like Crestfallen Warrior: if you don't speak to him, he just remains sat chilling for the entire game, and considering he's our chainmail brethren, that's just what we will be doing, letting homie just chill. To me, his attire makes it clear he's not an Englishman. Now, people that are Englishmen are all residents of our next location, Sen's Fortress. This place is just a jungle gym of traps, and although a jungle gym is fun, one's full of traps on the other hand isn't, and this one comes with traps. So before we entered, and seeing as we now had fast rolls, I started leveling strength. Remember how I said I didn't do quality build? Well, this is the start of that tale. Fortunately for us though, and in some way of making up for that, we had a very easy run through of Sen's. Things of note were that I spent about 5 minutes trying to get the lizard to break Logan's wall to no success. We then met up with our man Sieg to get the crack. He informs us that he is stuck due to a massive stone ball that he can't outpace. As he seems in a bit of a pickle and we do not to be, we decide to outrun the massive bowling ball, and now at the top we redirect it. Sieg's questline continued. It was time to take down our baby raging ogre. After that we did some parkour and spent like all my souls on a couple of shards and green blossoms. With Sen's fully swept, it was time for William Wallace to take on his next boss and last step before mid-game, Iron Golem. We entered the arena making sure to pop our power within before initiating. Now, if you had high hopes of this being one of these struggle fights, then have you played Dark Souls 1 before? If you have, then like, why did you think it would be a struggle? As Iron Golem is one of the easier bosses in the game. You just hit his knees till he collapses, it's like that one Eminem song. So quickly, while you watch the very short fight between us, I didn't use power within for every boss fight in this run. I didn't exactly feel the need, and if I don't use it, technically that means the fight was harder. Same goes for the Grass Crest. This shield isn't part of Willie's build. Right now, I didn't know that I could grab the leather shield, so I was allowing myself to use the Grass Crest. The green blossoms were for when I got the Pierce shield. I do think I pulled out the Grass Crest once or maybe twice after getting the Pierce shield, but if that signifies anything, then you can probably tell those uses were down to pure struggle more than anything. Chit chat done, and Iron Golem sent packing. It was officially time for mid-game. Once in Arnalondo, we get to see the King of England's house, which is quite the size in comparison to our man William Wallace's. As we kill this gargoyle and do gymnastics on the beam, we turn a tower and fight the second gargoyle. Yeah, so we died and dropped our 11k souls. Well, I thought they dropped until I ran back and my souls had despawned. I looked around while being chased by the gargoyle, but they actually did just disappear. I've only got about 135 hours on Dark Souls 1, but I've never encountered a soul disappearing bug before. After pondering about my souls and slumping the gargoyle that caused this mess, we once again do some gymnastics while trying to get to the second bonfire. Now, normally you get to the Black Knight Archer blocking your way to go wacko mode due to spaghetti code if you get close, but for some reason he didn't, so I had to swallow a massive arrow before just walloping him with the claymore instead. With the second bonfire accessed, it's once again time for questing. Simp punishment handed out, we make our way to Siegmeyer. This time he is stuck and a little bit nervous about going into the room in front, as it's housing 3 silver knights. This part of the quest is quite easy, it's a simple kill all the mobs for me type quest, and although 3 at once would be hard, our genius level battle IQ enables us to instead do it 1 at a time. As William Wallace was such a good leader, he also showed Siegmeyer how to backstab them in hopes of helping his future fights. In return for this, Siegmeyer hands us the tiny life ring, which grants us just that little bit more HP, although I don't think I used it all that much, if at all. Questline once again advanced, we did a little hop over the stairs, opened up the front door, ran past all the mobs en route to Tiny Hands the blacksmith, found out I couldn't afford anything, and then got myself trapped in a cage. After Michael Schofielding our way out of our cell, it's finally time to take on one of the most difficult bosses of the run, the deadly duo of Ornstein and Smough. ONS is one of those fights that no matter how many times I do it, it always causes me to do at least 10 tries. I'm sure that it's more down to my impatience and just pure bloodlust, but they are one of the bosses every run for me. And almost as if I understood that I'd be putting that into the script, I gave a shining example of my bloodlust and impatience by killing O on second attempt, meaning I just had to fight amped Smough, who is very slow and doesn't exactly cause much distress, unless you have my 2 problems, and decided victory is already achieved and you get butt slammed by a fat lightning cannibal. Other than this 1 attempt at the very start where I had gone into the second phase, the next 5 or so runs didn't even make it out of the first one. To be honest, not even halfway out of phase 1. I did manage to get phase 2S after a bit, but almost instantly got booty slammed again. But with the rage that S had started to build within William, we marched back to the fog gate, handling O in easy fashion before initiating phase 2S. First thing to do as phase starts is to pop our power within. While applying the power within, I also reminded myself to not get impatient, meaning after baiting out all the attacks that we couldn't handle a hit from and only downing a few more Estus, ONS finally falls and enables us to start endgame. Before endgame officially starts, however, we do get to do some interactive simping, to which we get gifted the ability to TP, only furthering our simp habits. Before we TP out of Anor Londo, we take our bag of souls we just got and get Tiny Hands to upgrade our claymore, meaning we're now sat with a healthy plus 10 claymore. TPing out of Anor Londo, we head back down to Firelink where we don't speak to Colin and place the Lord Vessel with no audience. This now done, we head down to the New Londo ruins to go and talk to Ingward, the Guardian of New Londo. Ingward also can just sense that we had the Lord Vessel and as such trusts us enough to have the key to the seal. It was either the Lord Vessel or due to William Wallace Fun Fact 6, of which is that William Wallace was titled Guardian of Scotland, which I don't know about you, but William Wallace, Guardian of Scotland, goes insanely hard. Like, guardian of a whole country. Yeah, he was levels clear that we haven't ever seen. Braveheart fanboying over, and with that sink being drained, we go and grab ourselves the large ember, making our homie Andre able to make plus 15 weapons and armor. Ember grabbed, we head out of New Londo back to Firelink where we do a little bit more questing. Siegmeyer is up at Firelink and after speaking to him and thanking us, he goes and gives us a miracle. Shame we can't use it. This interaction does start our next step in Sieg's quest, and also where if we didn't care for him would also stop his quest line. Before showing you where Siegmeyer is gone, we first need to run to the female undead merchant to grab at least 3 purple moss clump. Moss bought, we quickly run to give Andre his new ember before once again heading to Blighttown. This time it's a short visit as we are only looking for Siegmeyer, who unbelievably is asleep. A larva-infested poison swamp? Yeah, give me Siegmeyer's level of not caring and I'm sorted. After waking Sieg up, he tells us he might need some more help, although it's just to give him 3 moss. In return, Siegmeyer gives William his Targe shield. The Pierce shield isn't exactly the same size as an actual Targe. I think it would actually be like medium shield size, even if the wiki claims the Pierce shield is medium. But considering this is the only shield in the game with only 1 point on it, it is the closest we are gonna get, meaning we have made mid-level Willy.
And if he were here, he'd consume the English with fireballs from his eyes and bolts of lightning from his arse.
Mid-level Willy achieved, and I returned back to Tiny Hands in Anor Londo to get him to make my chainmail chest +6 and legs +4, as well as we upgraded the claymore to +13. Upgrades done, it was back to main game progression, where we headed back down to the demon ruins, to which our first port of call is to kill Ceaseless. Now, if you know anything about me and Ceaseless, it's that beside how cheesable he is, for some reason he likes to kill me and not give me the chance to cheese. This run is no exception. Ceaseless once again smacked the shit out of me. This time, however, a helpful commenter on one of my last challenge runs left a post saying if I run back to his dead sister, it will reset him, meaning the cheese is once again possible. And after doing just those things, and only getting shouted at once by Ceaseless, he did indeed reset and fall into his cheese, in which I bashed him with our new shield. I honestly was expecting that reset not to work after he fire breathed me, but I was more than glad it did, so shout out you, Atomic Aegis. With the souls Ceaseless dropped, of which is also the exact amount I was needing for the Crest of Artorias, we make the purchase and open the door. Before we make our way through the door, we go just to the right of it and kill a couple living trees before grabbing the wolf ring. At this point I didn't have any other really useful ring, so figured that the wolf ring and a little extra poise wouldn't do any harm. Wolf ring now on, we make our way through the door, running straight through so we can agree to all this cat's demands. Demands met, we now have free passage through, meaning we can safely make it to our next boss, our great protector, Sif. First run, she tried to protect us from brain rot short form content. The second, it was doom scrolling. This time, Sif is simply threatening us by saying if we don't look out for each other, that she's gonna get us. So take her advice, look out for yourselves and others, please. Heartfelt moment aside, and it's time to fight Sif. We've gone ahead and put Power Within on for this fight, and with each R1 attack, we're looking at about 357 damage, which is huge numbers, especially considering, as I said, William didn't exactly end up a quality build. For the fight though, it was pretty easy. We do massive damage, fast roll, and have some armor for protection. In reality, this ending stage of the game should be somewhat of a breeze. I mean, just like Sif, quite a few of the upcoming bosses are just massive, and getting underneath their feet is an easy tactic to get wins. I mean, you've been watching the Sif fight the whole time, and I've been yapping, and other than the fact I have no vitality and Sif hits like a truck, you can see how easy this is. That said, our GOAT Sif falls once again, gifting us the Ring of the Abyss. Sif beat, we stay in Darkroot Basin, as my last couple runs has shown me a better order to do things to make my life a little easier. First of which is to take out the Hydra and save Dusk, before going to Dukes. Now, that would be first if I didn't only kill the Hydra and leave Dusk trapped. The Hydras aren't even worth speaking about, stand in the cheese spot and slash their heads, pretty easy to be honest. After killing the Hydra and not the Golem, we go and fight Havel, making quick work of him with a couple backstabs, meaning we get the Havel ring and enable ourselves fast rolls with the end build Wallace. Loose ends tied up, and it's back to the demon ruins to take on the last of the demon cousins, Fire Sage. He's the exact same as Stray Demon, just fire. I mean, his arena is different, it's just a long line with loads of tree roots in it, and that is annoying, but still, he's a really easy fight, so I'm not going to spend ages on it, plus the video is getting long enough. Next up was Centipede, and after jumping to our beach, the fight becomes really easy, just tied under the legs and whacking. So once again, quite quick. This done, we head over to Dukes. As for Seek's quest, we need to go over here first. I also realized I didn't kill the golem holding Dusk here, so that's great. I died 2 times here before finally getting my guaranteed death at Sea Sand, who as ever reverses me. Waking up in our cell, it's go time. We stab the guard before hightailing it to get the key from the chest guarded by the lizard man, and then reset so we can get a free run to the door. With this, we just book it past pretty much everything till we get to the Duke's bonfire. Still not cured of our curse, we head down to the garden to free Siglinda and let her know we've seen her dad. We then leave Duke's to cure our curse. To get Seek's quest wrapped up, we return back to Lost Izalith, first killing a Daughter of Chaos and then Kirk, before using a longbow to kill 3 of the 4 Chaos Eaters, pretty much guaranteeing Sieg's survival. There is 3 outcomes here, but this is the only one that gives us the proper ending. Sieg's safe, we nip to Firelink to tell Siglinda, and then start our first fight with a Lord out of Chaos. I really don't want to bore you with this fight. She's awful. In fact, she killed me over a few times while trying to finish this fight, but with the power of our Torch Shield, we took all of her larvae down, claiming our first Lord Soul. Bed of Chaos dead, I headed back to Dukes to fight Seath. Other than his crystal gimmick, this fight was once again an easy one. First try, unlike the Bastard Sword, and never caused any concern, meaning just as quick as it started, Seath is also taken care of. so that's 2 out of 4 Lord Souls. If you're curious as to what I'm leveling now, it's Vitality. After the first Lord Soul, I started popping heals up. I think the highest I ever got was like 25 though, so still not a lot of heals. We also go through the Great Hollow to finish Siegmeyer's storyline, where our only real friend has succumbed to this world. His daughter, the reason for his spirit to even be free. She is still human, not cursed, and is maybe the strongest warrior in Ash Lake, stronger than William ever could be. As thanks for helping her father, Sieglinde hands us our second Titanite slab of the run. Sieg now wrapped up, I'm going to try to get through the next few bosses quickly as they are very mundane. Quite a few first tries actually, so the excitement factor and I guess stuff to talk about fight wise isn't the same as the rest. That said, it's off to the catacombs where we kill Patches on sight as he's dressed like an Englishman in Wallace's eyes, then do some parkour, say hello to Vamos, take on Pinwheel, which ends in 2 seconds, get the Mask of the Mother, blindly traverse the Tomb of the Giants, initiate our fight with Gravelord Nito, once again die, and finally decide it was time to go to the DLC so we can finish our William Wallace build. Obviously first on that list was the Sanctuary Guardian, who once again went down first try. We just dodged his lightning, didn't get stunned when he shouted, and just twatted him when we could. We then saw Calamite for the first time, and what the fuck? Where did you come from? What the fuck? Random glowing aside, we ran through the Royal Wood, making it to our next boss and my favourite, Artie of the Abyss. Once again I first tried him, he's just slow in comparison to the other bosses, and I fought him so many times I just know how to fight him. Artie is Superman and I'm his kryptonite, sorry boss. So with Artie taken down, Kieran will spawn, or Kaiden will spawn, and after doing research, aka looking at all the leggings in DS1, I figured Kieran's Lordblade leggings is the closest thing in the game to a kill, and as Wallace was a true Scot, I have no doubt he would have worn a kill into battle at least a few times. This does mean we need to kill Kieran though, which is easy enough considering how much damage we are doing per hit. Kill equipped, and we are leaving the DLC for now, as we head back to Nito, where on return, Nito simply couldn't handle how badass we look in our kill and chainmail, and decides to kneel before me on only second attempt. A lot sooner than other runs, fortunately. Honestly though, I thought I was going to get stuck here for a good bit. With Nito dead and only 1 Lord Soul remaining, I decided to just get out of the way as I still had a couple mini bosses to do as well as Manus and Calamite. So now with our full gear set, we finally have Ultimate William Wallace.
I love you. Always have.
With this, we now decide to go and take on the last Lord Soul, the 4 Kings. As I'm sure any DS1 player knows, this is just a pure DPS race, who does it better type fight. And well, we do have 370 confirmed kills to our name, so with favors heavy on our side, we smack all the 4 Kings and completely destroy their ego while claiming our 4th and final Lord Soul in the process. I mean, this fight was just out heal all the attacks and then bash them. Lord Soul's officially done, and it was time to return to the DLC for our fight with Manus. If you know anything about me, then you know Manus is the hardest boss for me. I only beat him for the first time ever on the first challenge run on this channel. So yeah, that means this usually goes pretty rough. And although for the first 3 fights it did, I settled myself again. Told myself not to be impatient in a less nice way than that. Took a breath and went at him for the 4th time. And on the 4th attempt, we actually did it. We beat him. I'm by no means saying it was easy. My biggest fear was him catching me with his spaz out attack, as that was cause of my previous deaths. But if you're able to stick on his left leg and run from his magic attacks and or dodge them, then he actually isn't too bad. I mean, I'm saying that, but 135 hours and 100% in the game, and I beat him 3 times. Regardless, with the hardest boss for me dead, it was time to wrap up the DLC with Black Dragon Calamite. We obviously asked Go for his help, as he's the finest archer in the lands, to which he obliges and shoots Calamite, making our life a lot easier. I also checked out what leveling Dex would do to my damage, and yeah, this is when I realised it should have been a quality build. Ignorance aside, once initiating the Cali fight, I knew that as long as I kept my patience, that it would be done first try, although I figured that out after dying to him 4 times. I had so much faith in the patience strat that even with all my damage, I was waiting until he swooped down to try and attack at all. Like, I was seriously being cautious. Although the word I'd really use is being scared. After 15 whole minutes, as Calamite wouldn't swoop for like 5 of them, Dark Souls 1 cheesed me. He was 1 hit and with the tiniest bit of his flame killed me. Yes, I know, why did I not wait till a swoop, but as I said, it's a habit and bad habits die hard. Returning the next day, I decided that with my limited time, I'd just change up my tactic and try and envision Calamite as an Englishman, which actually went insanely well, so well that I won. And all I did different was the age-old tactic of if he's massive, just get under his legs and start swinging and rolling. With Calamite down, that means pretty much every boss apart from Gwyn is done, so I decided to go and farm the first Black Knight in the kiln for Titanite chunks to complete my other ones, although some might see a potential issue arising. Instead of showing you me farming for the chunks, as it's just a couple hours of me killing the same one enemy, I'll just let you know that we collected enough Titanite chunk and then returned to Callie's arena to pick up another Titanite slab. While upgrading, we also grabbed the leather shield, as it is more than likely to have been the closest thing to his actual shield, although the pierce is really the Targe. This is also the part where I tell you that I can't get all my armor to max level, as I only get 3 slabs. Luckily my Lord's Blade leggings only go to +5 and use Twinkling Titanite, but the rest need normal Titanite, so only the Claymore, chest and helm is +15. The Knight's gauntlets ended up as +14. With all those upgrades though, we have achieved what is the closest I can get to Ultimate William Wallace.
Back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
To test our final evolution of the Guardian of Scotland, we went and quickly took down all remaining bosses. We started with the Moonlight, who went down as well as you expected, blocked her magic attacks and then smacked her in the head while she came close. This only took one rotation, which was expected considering it's supposed to be an early game boss. Moonlight down, we headed over to Anor Londo to end our simping days and begin our fight with Gwyndolin, who calls us a heretic, to which we use William Wallace Fun Fact 7 and quote his reply to his treason charge against Edward and say, "I cannot be a traitor, for I owe him no allegiance." And with that, we smack our claymore down on Gwyndolin's head and head over to the chapel, where we see a painting of Scotland. If you know anything about Scotland, then you understand that joke. Once in the painted world, we run through the star and then kill the holified dragon, even though I'm not collecting the loot. Actually didn't die to the wheel skellies as we open up the door to Priscilla, and with absolutely no monologue, I just started blasting. William clearly was feeling like the strong and silent type, Silvio Dante.
Yeah, Zebra, I'm talking to you!
Mafia aside, Priscilla was a really easy fight. We just do so much damage with our claymore that it takes about 7 swings before we can take her down. With Priscilla dead, it meant it was time for the last boss before Gwyn, who, to spice it up, I decided to fight with the longbow. I'm of course talking about none other than the Taurus demon, of which I was actually worried about as I hate the bow, but in fact he was incredibly easy and took about 5 hours to kill. To be fair, I did go into this fight +10 longbow and power within, so I don't know why I was worried. Regardless, that is all bosses done apart from Gwyn, so let's finish it. For Gwyn, we aren't playing around. We are using our leather shield for parry as well as power within. We are trying to absolutely mollywop Gwyn first try, and just as we hope, we do. And after about 3 minutes of fight, we end up taking Gwyn down, going and lighting the fire and finding out you can beat Dark Souls 1 as William Wallace. But you already knew that. If you enjoyed the video, a sub or like goes a long way with the algorithm. If you have any ideas for challenge runs, please leave them below. I really enjoyed this video and creating it, so if you enjoyed it too, please let me know below. With that said, thank you all for the support on the videos, I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night, and stay safe all.